Okay, so we are going to focus on your conclusion for your argumentative essay today, okay? A conclusion is something that a lot of you do not do. And that you don't do it purposely, but oftentimes when you're writing an essay, put your iPads away please. When you're writing an essay or when you're writing something, you just stop. The end. Thank you for listening to my paper, or whatever the case may be. You don't have an actual complete conclusion. Okay, so this is going over what an argumentative conclusion looks like, but also what conclusions look like in general. You've got to make sure when you guys do iLearn and they grade your writing prompts that nobody likes to do but you have to do anyway, one of the categories is, do you have a conclusion? Okay, and we lose points a lot in 6th grade for that because you are expected to have a nicely formed conclusion. So a conclusion is the last paragraph of your essay, summarizing the thesis and the argument in this case, because it's argumentative, and it helps the reader see why the essay should matter to them. Remember, it's your last impression that you're giving your audience. The introduction is getting them to want to read your essay. The conclusion is that last impression. What do you want them walking away from your essay feeling and thinking? So remember a few things. No matter what you're writing, you always want to end your essays on a positive note. You do not want to introduce any new information. That's what your essay body paragraphs are for. And it needs to be at least 3 sentences. Your conclusions do not have to be super, super long. This conclusion is going to be probably about 6 sentences because I'm going to give you a very specific format for the argumentative essay. However, normally your conclusion does not have to be super long. It just needs to wrap up your paper, okay? It needs to have some sort of closure. How many of you have watched a movie and the movie just ends and you're like, what just happened? Like, I'm so confused, right? That's how a lot of you guys leave your papers. You want your reader to feel some sort of closure, unless you're writing a cliffhanger story or something like that. But we're not going to be doing those things for academic writing very often. So how are we going to conclude this essay, this argumentative essay? This is how you're going to conclude most argumentative essays. You're going to restate the thesis by making the same point, but using different words. You're going to paraphrase it. So your thesis was in your introduction, right? So this was my example that I gave you guys as far as what your example looks like. Let me scroll down a little bit, and I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see, hopefully a little bit easier. So this was my introductory paragraph that I did. Remember, everything I do is the bare minimum, right? So my thesis statement is down here. It says all animal testing needs to be banned in the United States. That was my thesis. So whatever you guys wrote for your thesis is what you would use. All I'm doing is restating it. I'm rewriting it differently. So I rewrote it. The U.S. should ban animal testing. Pretty much says the exact same thing, just a little bit differently, right? But I'm just reaffirming my belief so that whoever read this, the audience really knows this is what I think, this is what I feel. Does that make sense? So that's the first sentence of your conclusion. The next 3 sentences come from your reasons. So if you guys remember when you did your outline and you wrote your paragraphs, right? So your first reason for the first paragraph was what? Mine was that animal testing should be banned because it is cruel. So I just rewrote the overall point of that paragraph is that animals should be treated with respect. I'm not going to rewrite the topic sentence exactly, but it's just a 1-sentence summary of reason number 1. So then the next sentence is a 1-sentence summary of my reason number 2 paragraph. And then my third one is a summary sentence of my reason number 3 paragraph. Does that make sense? This is why having that outline and outlining your paragraphs is so important because it makes this part super, super easy. So for my second reason, I said it was unnecessary. Animal testing should be banned because it's unnecessary. So with advancements, because in that paragraph, I would write about how medical or scientific advancements, technology advancements, don't make animal testing necessary. So my summary sentence says, with advancements, it makes testing unnecessary, right? I'm summarizing what that paragraph was about. The third paragraph, the third reason was that the laws to protect animals for animal testing do not protect all animals. So this sentence, I just put, the laws are not enough to protect all animals. That's it, right? So I just wrote one quick sentence summary of each of my reasons. My connection connects back to my introduction, because you want your paper to be a full circle. That's why we connect back and refer back to our intro. So my connection is, what is this first sentence? It's my hook, right? My hook was, testing on animals in the cosmetic and medical industry has been going on for years. That was my hook. That was my interesting statement. So my connection is, too many companies rely on animal testing. So I'm pretty much saying that same thing, but I'm just making it more of a general statement. I'm still connecting it back to that. Does that make sense so far? And then the very last thing is the call to action. Okay, I told you all about banning animal testing and why. Okay, now what? Now I'm calling you to action, the audience to action, right? Animal testing is bad. This is why animal testing is bad. Now what do you do about it? So I'm going to call you to action. I'm going to tell you what to do. As a nation, people need to take action, stop buying products from companies that use animal testing, right? So my call to action is stop using products. Like, there's lists and websites that you can look at that tell you what animals use what companies use animal testing and which one don't. I'm going to find the ones that don't, buy their products instead. Just something small but easy. So what is something small and easy, or what is something that the general person, you don't have to be a millionaire, but a general person is able to do in order to help support whatever your argument is? That's what the call to action is. So once you fill out each of these, you go to Canvas, Language Arts, not reading, Language Arts. You go to Modules, Argumentative, and then under Argumentative, there should be an assignment, and it's called Conclusion Graphic Organizer, something very basic like that. And that is where you are going to upload this and anything else that you need to get uploaded. Next week, we are going to start, there's no school on Wednesday, so that's going to be a chance for everybody to really work on this. But next week, we are going to start working on putting this into proper MLA formatted argumentative essay. So if you do not have all these different parts, it's going to make it a little more difficult. So you really want all these different parts to make it, your life will be so much easier. Okay, some people are starting to figure that out. They didn't have the outline, and they realized how much more difficult it was to build the paragraph. Or they didn't have their intro, so they realized this was harder if they didn't have their intro. If you can't find the paper of your intro or your outline, but you submitted it to Canvas, you look in your camera roll, because you took a picture of it to submit it, so it should be there. Or you could go back into Canvas, and you should be able to find it as well. All right, any questions over this? No? Okay, did that turn off?